Welcome back to the Budget Archive. My name is Mitch. First off, thank you. I'm a bit lost for words. I kind of underestimated people's love for free stuff, I guess. And we have completely smashed through the 500 goal, and we're now sitting at about 630 subscribers. It's just kind of insane to me. I didn't expect that much love and that much support to come through for it. So, as such, I have looked at it and I had a couple different numbers in mind, and ultimately, I have decided to settle on a new goal of 1,200 subscribers. I don't think it's out of reach. I don't think it is quite possible in the 4 weeks, but I decided I may as well make it a real high goal, one that I don't think will quite get there. But if we do get there, then you guys will get what I'm about to announce. And this is probably going to be the biggest Grand Archive giveaway I've seen ever. So, as such, if we do reach the 1,200 subscriber goal, I'll also be giving away a Mad Hatter CSR. So, this is alongside the Rouge CSR, and effectively everyone that's already commented and everyone that's still going to comment on the first video, so make sure you go comment on that. You will be entered in this giveaway as well, and this will be drawn at the exact same time as the Rouge CSR. It will effectively still be the same exact format where I go through and select 4 from the first video, 1 from this video, and then 1 from the next 3 videos. And then all those people will be put in a wheel, and we will not just select one person, but we'll select 2 people to win a CSR each. First one to be drawn will be for the Rouge, the second one will be for the Mad Hatter. Now for today's video, I have decided to try use a little bit of a different overlay, and just to make it a little bit easier on myself. It does mean that the display card is a little bit smaller, so let me know if you prefer me to go back to where it was the whole screen, or whether you're happy with it being like this. We are using TCG Archivist for this, just because the display on that is a little bit nicer and a little bit bigger for viewing pleasure. However, if this isn't what you like or you don't like the look of it, let me know and I will look at some other options. Now onto the deck list. In the material deck, we have Spread of Fire, Rye Spellcrafter, has the on-enter effect of put 2 enlightenment counters on Rye. Enlightenment counters have the effect of remove 3 of them and draw a card. Rye Archmage, inherited effect, whenever you activate your first mage action card for the turn, put an enlightenment counter on your champion. This gives you the ability to level up into Rye Archmage, play something like a Creative Shock, put an enlightenment counter on Rye, then removing all 3 that you've got on there now to draw a card before the Creative Shock resolves, to then give you an extra card to have an option to discard at. Rye Stormseer. This is the card that makes the whole deck work. It has the effect of Rye gets +1 level for each Arcane Element Mage spell card in your banishment. It's important to note that it is Mage spell card, not Skill, not Regalia. It is only for the Mage spell cards, which in this deck, every single card in the main board is. You just won't get it from the Regalia when you banish them. Alikest. The effect on this does very little to start with. The main effect we're looking at is a level 4 effect of Banish It, destroy target item or weapon with memory cost 0 or reserve cost 4 or less. This is effectively if your opponent has something like a Safeguard Amulet on the field that you need to get rid of before you go for your kill. You can materialize this, banish this, attempt to destroy the Safeguard. When they banish it in response, you can then pay for the Fireball or whatever you've got to then kill them over the top. Fire Resonance Bubble. We are running both Fire and Water Resonance Bubble on the main board, with Wind Resonance Bubble on the sideboard. As always, with your local meta, you can choose which one you'd rather run main board and which you'd rather run sideboard. Safeguard Amulet. Banish it if your champion would take non-combat damage this turn, prevent 4 of that damage. Great in Spellslinger decks and any decks doing non-combat damage. Terrafering. Banish it until end of turn, players can't declare attacks unless they pay 2 for each attack declaration. Activate it only during your opponent's recollection step. This is great into any deck that's running a lot of allies or wants to be attacking with their champion, as it's going to cost them a lot more in order to attack, most likely giving you an extra turn. Tome of Knowledge. Class bonus, your champion gets +1 level, and you can banish it to draw a card. Now, this is mainly in here to combo with Tome of Sacred Lightning, as you'll see in a second. However, it is also a great effect to have of just +1 level to your champion. Some people run Tome of Sorcery. I do feel that Tome of Knowledge is just slightly better. Yes, Tome of Sorcery replaces itself, as well as giving you the ability to empower 1 for that turn. However, in the later game, you are generally wanting to use the Tome of Sacred Lightning ability to then draw more cards and banish stuff, getting levels into your banishment. So I do find that the +1 static effect of Tome of Knowledge is a lot better once you go into Sacred Lightning. Storm Tyrant's Eye. Banish it. Reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal an Arcane Element card. Deal unpreventable damage to your champion equal to the amount of cards revealed this way. Put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom in the random order. So the main thing with this is you've got to be careful. If you're already at low life and you activate this, there is a chance that you end up killing yourself. So this is a very situational card and is a bit of a flex spot in the deck. It's just good for in the late game if you've scryed away a bunch of stuff using Scry the Skies and you know what the next card on your deck's going to be. You can activate this, reveal it. If it's arcane, then you only take one. Otherwise, if you need to just get rid of a couple cards in order to get the one you want, you can take a couple damage. Choose which one you want. Most likely, if it's something like a fireball, then the cards you revealed will go on the bottom. You don't need those ones. You've got the card that you really cared about, and then you're able to continue on. Most likely, either kill your opponent or do a lot of damage to them. Tome of Sacred Lightning. This is the main thing that works with Tome of Knowledge. It has the element bonus, so as long as you're level 3, you can activate this. You can only bring it out if you're arcane anyway, so there's not too much to say there. But you may banish a Book Regalia you control to activate this card from your material deck. If you do, it enters the field with all abilities of the banished card. So along with the Tome of Knowledge being the +1 level ability, Tome of Sacred Lightning will then also have that +1 ability, as well as the banish it to draw a card. So in some situations, you can activate Tome of Sacred Lightning's ability of tap it, banish a card at random from your memory. If a card was banished this way, draw a card. So you effectively place something into your memory, activate this, banish that card, most likely an arcane card, giving you a +1 level off that, drawing a card to replace it, and then also being able to sacrifice the Tome of Sacred Lightning to then draw another card, which in some situations can give you that little bit of advantage to have enough cards in hand to then go for the kill. We are running 4 copies of Careful Study. This is an 8 cost card with efficiency, so this card costs level less to activate, where level refers to your champion's level. Because of Rise Storm Seer, we are often level 7 or 8 once we go to level 3, making this effectively a free card to play. It has the effect of put 5 enlightenment counters on your champion, and because it is a mage action card, Right Archmage's ability will mean that if this is the first mage action you've played for the turn, you'll get an enlightenment counter upon your champion as well. So effectively making this put 6 enlightenment counters on your champion, allowing you to then remove all 6 to then draw 2 cards. Library Witch. Intercept, on death, draw a card. 0/1 2 cost. It's a decent blocker if your opponent's attacking you with a lot of allies. However, it also combos with Cremation Ritual, which we will see later on. Peaceful Reunion. Activate this card only if you've not declared an attack this turn. As you'll see in this deck, there is only one ally that is actually able to attack, so a lot of the time you will not have attacked, and you do not have to attack with that ally if it is on the field, if you would rather play this. It has the effect of, until the beginning of your next turn, you and target player can't declare attacks. Banish it. So this isn't a mage action, it's a cleric spell action, so you will not be getting the enlightenment counter off this, and you will also, of course, not being arcane, you will not get a level on Rye. However, this just means that into decks that are relying on just attacking, such as ally decks, this effectively tells them they have to take a turn off. We're running 4 copies of Resolute Stand, so 3 costs with the effect of if target unit be dealt attack combat damage this turn, prevent 3 of that damage. A lot of ally decks and aggro decks rely on allies that are generally 2 or 3 power, sometimes 1, so a lot of them aren't going to be able to do any damage through this, effectively giving you another turn if you're against one of those decks. It also has a level 2 effect of you may activate this card without paying its reserve cost. If you do, skip your next draw phase. You don't generally want to have to use this effect, however you can if this is the only card left in your hand, and you playing this is what will allow you to survive to your next turn. Scry the Skies. Glimpse level, draw a card in your memory. So as we mentioned, often, especially into the late game, Rye can become level 10, level 11, level 12 quite easily. So with this, you're able to then glimpse the top 10 to 12 cards of your deck, stack them however you want, put any ones you don't want anymore on the bottom of your deck, then draw a card into memory, and then suddenly you know what the top 5 or 6 cards of your deck are, allowing you to use effects like the enlightenment counters to then draw more cards, to then combo off, and often once you've done this, you're going to be winning the game. Clumsy Apprentice. This is the one ally in the deck that can actually attack. It has the effect of on enter, deal 2 damage to your champion, and draw a card. So when I was building this deck, I had Cremation Ritual and Library Witch in there. Often you have things like Dungeon Guide and other things along those lines. However, I just felt that only having 4 Library Witches was not enough to justify the 4 Cremation Rituals. So I looked at different options, and Clumsy Apprentice just stuck out at me as a way to not only replace itself with drawing a card, but also being able to then be cremated to draw another 2 cards. Creative Shock. Often with this card, you'll see it in fire decks, and people just ignore the class bonus. It doesn't matter, you're not going to get it. However, in this deck, there actually is a chance that you get it. So you draw 2 cards, discard a card. If a fire element card was discarded this way, choose a unit and deal 2 damage to it. The important thing to note with this is, it doesn't target a unit, it chooses. So it gets around Spell Shroud, as well as also meaning that your opponent can't respond to you choosing where that damage is going to go. So they have to respond before the Creative Shock resolves fully in order to prevent any of that damage. This deck isn't running a huge amount of fire cards, but often in the late game you may not need a Cremation or a Clumsy Apprentice anymore, so getting rid of one of them is a pretty good option. Cremation Ritual, the card we've talked about a few times now. As an additional cost to activate this card, sacrifice an ally and draw 2 cards. Effectively, it's a 3 cost that not only replaces itself, but also replaces the ally that you lose to play this. So alongside the 2 allies in this deck, you're effectively going +1, while also holding up a lot more influence as well going into the late game. And of course, we're running 4 copies of Fireball. It is a 4 cost card that has the effect of deal 1+ level damage to your target unit. So with this, of course, with Rye being level 10, level 11 late game, you're going to be often doing 11 or 12 damage with this Fireball, which against a lot of decks will just often automatically kill them. And if they do have a high life total, it's not hard to get 2 or 3 of these throughout the whole entire game. It also has the class bonus effect of costing 2 less to activate as long as you're a mage. So in this deck, it's costing us 2. 2 cost, deal 10 damage. There's nothing to be scoffed at. Advent of the Stormcaller. Now this is a little bit out of the budget constraints for the deck. I believe it is sitting about $5.50 at the moment. However, if you're able to get this along with Power Overwhelming, as we'll see later on, it can just be an auto win, so I felt it was kind of needed for a Rye deck to actually be semi-competitive. It has the effect of also having efficiency, so it is a 15 cost, kind of insane. However, if you are level 11, level 12, it's only going to cost you 3, which isn't bad. And then with Power Overwhelming, it can often be just a free cast as well. It has the effect, reveal the top level cards from your deck. You may banish any amount of Arcane Element cards from among them. For each card banished this way, choose a unit and deal 2 damage to it. Put the rest of the revealed cards on the top or bottom of your deck in any order. So it's a little bit complex on how this works, but effectively you're often going to be level 12, level 13, so you're revealing the top 12 or 13 cards of your deck. And then not only are you doing 2 damage for each arcane you choose to banish, but you're also getting the plus level from Rye Stormshare because of those banishments. So the cards you play further on in the turn are then going to resolve with a higher level count. But for the cards you choose to not banish, you also get to choose if you want them to put them on the top or bottom. Like, you get rid of all the cards you don't want, and you still get to keep the Fireballs and the Arcane Blasts and such on the top of your deck, to then be able to draw them using other effects in your deck, giving you a setup for effectively a kill on that turn, if not on your next turn. Anger the Skies. This is a 3-drop. It has deal 3 damage to all allies. Class bonus, deal 4 damage to those allies instead. Great against ally decks, and a lot of allies in this game are only 3 or 4 life, so this is effectively going to kill a majority of allies that you come up against. Arcane Blast. This is one of your main kill spells in the deck. Has efficiency as well, so once you are level 10 11, this is going to be a free cast as well, and has deal 11 damage to target champion. So it is slow speed, not quite as good as Fireball, but when you're playing 3 or 4 of these in a row in the late game for free, your opponent's going to have a very hard time of getting through this. Arcane Sight, 0 cost, draw a card, and your champion gets +1 level until end of turn. Not only does it replace itself, but gives you another level for that turn. This can often be the type of thing that you can be level 10, wanting to play the Arcane Blast, but not quite having the cards to actually pay that 1. So you play Arcane Sight, get the plus level, draw a card, and then you can play 2 or 3 Arcane Blasts at once without having to pay anything for them. Erratic Bolt is a 4 cost that deals level damage to target unit, and then has the class bonus effect of you may banish 2 cards at random from your memory. If you do, draw 2 cards. So this is a great card in the late game once you've maybe got off an Advent or Stormcaller, or you're just like level 10, 11, so you're able to do not only that damage to your opponent, but then also able to banish a couple arcane cards from your memory, draw 2 more cards. Hopefully you've stacked the top of your deck at this point, and you're able to draw maybe the Fireball or an Arcane Blast or something, then be able to finish off your opponent in the same turn. Power Overwhelming. This is the one that combos with Advent or Stormcaller very well. It has remove any amount of enlightenment counters from your champion. Your champion gets +1 level for each counter removed this way until end of turn. So with this, you can often play a careful study, get 5, generally 6 enlightenment counters on your champion, then activate this, removing all 6, getting +6 levels until end of turn. So not only will your fireballs be doing extra damage, but the Advent or Stormcaller can become free at that point, allowing you to not only then play that, banish a bunch of arcane cards, put Fireball and stuff on top, then find some way to draw that Fireball and then play it, often dealing 20 plus damage with a Fireball, which is just insane. You don't have to play this with Advent, of course. You can just play this, remove 4 or 5 enlightenment counters, play a Fireball dealing 15, 16 damage with that one Fireball as well. Shattering Discharge. This is a bit of a new card to the game, but it's still very good for how much it's worth. You may activate this card from your banishment as long as there's a charge counter on it. It has the class bonus of whenever this card is banished from your memory, put a charge counter on it. And then its main effect is deal 2 unpreventable damage to target champion, and then banish it. So not only does it banish itself if you just play it from your hand anyway, giving you that mage spell in the banishment to get a +1 level on Rise Stormseer, but also if you banish this while paying for a level up cost, you'll put a charge counter on it, allowing you to then play it again from banishment later on. So if you go for an Arcane Blast and your opponent plays something like a Spellshed Arcane, or just any prevention of any kind that's a one-off effect, then you can, in response, let that resolve and then play this, dealing 2 unpreventable. So not only will it pop whatever shield they've played, but it'll also guarantee that 2 damage through as well. And then banish itself again, so you just keep that level there anyway. Spellshed Arcane. This is a 3 cost that has a class bonus of this card costing 1 less to activate. Next time damage will be dealt to your champion this turn. Prevent that damage. Put an amount of enlightenment counters on your champion equal to the amount of damage prevented this way. So with this, it's kind of ridiculous. If your opponent goes for a large fireball or for just any massive swing like a devastating blow, you can respond by playing this, preventing that damage, and then putting 8 or 9 enlightenment counters on your champion, which is pretty insane. And because this is a mage action, you're also going to get the Rye Archmage enlightenment counter on your champion just for activating this. So 2 cost shield is pretty bloody good. Voltaic's Sphere. This is a 2-drop slow action mage spell. Deal 3 damage to target unit. If that unit is an ally, deal 5 damage to it instead. And then has the class bonus of banish it from your graveyard. Next arcane element spell you activate, its turn costs 1 less to activate. So not only are you then getting that mage spell in the banishment to give +1 level to Rye, but you're also making a card 1 less to play. So if you are level 9, you have this in your graveyard, you can then banish it, getting level 10 from Rise Stormseer's ability, and then playing an Arcane Blast for free. This is probably your optimum thing to discard off of Creative Shock. As with this deck, we are trying to banish Arcane out of our memory, so we don't really want to have any floating memory in the deck. So Creative Shock is effectively there as a dig deeper card, not a get stuff in the graveyard card, but this is the best thing to put in your graveyard if you do want to discard something. In the sideboard, we have Blinding Orb. Of course, we're running Fire Resistance Bauble and Water Resistance Bauble on the main board, so often you're not going to need 2 baubles unless you're up against Vanitas, which, have fun. But Blinding Orb is a good choice just to bring in for whatever one you don't need. It has the effect of banishing it. Each opponent puts 2 cards from their hand into their memory. So if your opponent's holding up something like an Incap or a Blanche or something along those lines, this can be a good card to bring out, activate, forcing your opponent to put their hand into memory, and then being able to go for your kill on your turn. Wind Resistance Bauble, of course, as stated, anyone can be main board, anyone can be sideboard, just depends on your local meta. Safeguard Paragon. This is the budget man's Blanche. It's a 3-cost 1/2 ally that has the effect of sacrifice it, prevent the next 4 non-combat damage to be dealt to each unit you control's turn. So I'd love to play Blanche. Blanche and Rye is amazing, but it's just not viable on a budget wise. I believe they're like $35, $40 each at this point. They really do need a reprint, but Safeguard Paragon is just a good thing that if your opponent's not running a lot of allies and they're mainly doing spell damage like another Rye, you can bring this in and take the 4 Peaceful Reunions out, meaning that if they do go for a kill, this is effectively a Safeguard Amulet on an ally. 3 copies have vanished from sight. If you are struggling with your opponent attacking a lot and not being able to find the prevention needed to actually survive till you get to level 3, you bring 3 copies of this and just takes either, probably not a couple arcane cards out because you want to keep your arcanes, but maybe a Cremation Ritual, maybe Clumsy, possibly a Scry the Skies. Just depends on what the game's looking like and what you feel like you need. Anger the Skies. Of course, we've got 2 in main board, and we've also got 2 in sideboard. Now, in terms of upgrades for this deck, Rye is actually a pretty cheap deck overall, and there's a bunch of different stuff you can do to the deck. You can pretty much change the whole deck around with a unlimited budget. However, for this version of the deck, there isn't actually a lot that you need to do to make it a competitive style of deck. The main thing would be adding 4 times Dungeon Guides. Dungeon Guide just allows you to get that extra burst to get to level 3 faster, then start doing your game plan, and just effectively makes you a turn faster. The other upgrade would be changing a couple of the regalia around and adding either Grand Crusader's Ring or Quicksilver Grail in. A lot of people do like Quicksilver Grail just because you're able to put something like Tome of Knowledge under it, move to your turn, and be able to control exactly what cards you're going to lose out of your memory when you bring out that Tome of Knowledge. Also giving you the flexibility to do it during your opponent's turn if you just need an extra level or something. We have the material deck coming in at $1.78, the main deck coming in at $27.16, and the sideboard coming in at $1.75. Before we move on to the grand total, just want to remind you, comment down below to enter the giveaway for the 2 CSRs, and make sure to like and subscribe. Our grand total comes to $30.69. It's a pretty cheap deck for how powerful it can be. Until next time, stay safe.